right? So our next module is on tuples and sets. So okay, so we've covered lists, we've covered dictionaries, right? So tuples and sets are also part of these data types, right? So first we'll get started with uh, what are these tuples and how do we use them, and also right, when to use a list, when to use a tuple. We'll cover all of that aspects as well. But before we talk about these tuples, I just want you to be clear with the kind of brackets that we are using for each of these, right? So if I have to recall, lists we've used square brackets, dictionaries we've used curly braces, okay, and then now we are talking about tuples. So tuple we will be using normal braces, okay. So these are the three basic differences. And now coming to how do we create these tuples. So just like we've started all the other modules, so let's start with creating a tuple, right? So you create a tuple just like you have your list and you have your dictionary. Like for example, you say my tuple is normal braces and values separated by commas 1 2 3. It's a 3 value tuple, so values are stored, so very similar to list, right? So very similar to list, my tuple 1 2 3. And so you can create it in a very simple way, right? So if you remove all of these elements, you will be able to create an empty tuple, right? So now what if you want to access elements, right? So very similar again. So accessing tuple elements, right? So you have my tuple. So just like how we've used 0 1 indexes, you can use it here as well. So my tuple of 0 gives you this, my tuple of 1 gives you this, and 2 gives you this, right? Now you can actually perform tuple, like you can combine multiple tuples as well. So let's say you have two tuples, right? How do I combine both of these, right? So let's look at that as well, right? So it comes under like a tuple operations. Let's name that. Okay, so I have, let's say, tp1. So tp1 is what? 1 2 and 3. Now let's say tp2 is also there, right? So tp2, it contains, let's say, a comma b comma c. Okay, so I have these two tuples. Let's say I want to do tp1 and tp2 and hit enter. So look at what you get, right? So you combine both of these tuples into one. Or if you do something like tuple 1 into 2, so let's see what happens, right? So look at what happens, it actually multiplies. That means the values are repeated. If you do it like 5 times, the values get repeated 5 times, right? So it's very convenient as well. Like, so these are very useful when you create, let's say you want to create a tuple of 10 ones. Okay, so then what you can do is tp3, you can put it as 1, okay, and then multiply it with a 10. So automatically a tuple with 10. Okay, so here in this case it's just because, yeah, so let's do this and you will be able to, yeah. So just make sure if you have one element, you have to put a comma, right? So just making sure that it's actually a tuple with multiple values, right? So just keep a note on this as well. Okay, and so there is another tricky way of using tuples to declare variables. I'll show you that also. So this is called tuple unpacking, right? Even if you forget the syntax, I want you to remember these words. So that is how you can actually browse on internet or use YouTube, ChatGPT, or whatever it is. So I want to give you these kind of hints so that you can actually check and watch these, or you can read about this stuff as well, right? For example, let's say I have a tuple with 1 2 3, right? So tp1 is my 1 2 3. Now my goal is, let's say I want to equate a is equals to 1, b is equals to 2, c equals to 3, right? So something like that, right? So if I have to do it, I have to type 3 lines, a b c, right? I have to do this thing, right? But you can actually simplify it in just one line. So how do we do that? A comma B comma C is equals to tuple of 1 2 3, and now look at this. Look what happens. Put A. Okay, it's 1. If you don't believe me, I'll change it to 10 20 30. Let's see what happens. 10 20 30, enter 10. You see, B, you get 20, right? So that is how you can actually unpack values, right? So using these tuples as well, right? And one small thing about tuples is, so once you create a tuple, you cannot modify, you cannot remove any elements, you cannot add any elements. It is fixed. The analogy I believe is, but it's not the same for list, right? So list versus tuple. I know it's a very bad analogy, but I'll still try to tell you. Now list, you can think of it like a train. Okay. Now what does a train have? It has compartments, it has an engine, it has a guard coach towards the end, luggage, everything, isn't it? Now engine come from one side to the other side. You can switch the engines, you can change the compartments, you can reduce the compartments, you can keep adding the compartments, right? You can modify a lot of this. Okay, you define it. But tuple is more like a bus, right? Once you have it, you can't make two buses into one, you can't cut the bus into half, you can't do anything, right? So this, in Python words, it is called immutable, and lists is called mutable. So that means you can add, change, like add, remove, modify. You can do all of this, but here you cannot. Okay, you can do all of that. Alright, so here you can't add, can't modify, right? So you can't do anything. So remember this. Okay, this is one big difference. And then when it comes to memory, right? So list is memory high, right? So it consumes a lot of memory, but whereas tuple, it is low memory, right? So it's very efficient because of various reasons, right? So because you are already defining tuple and you are saying it cannot accommodate more, you don't have to change anything, right? So tuple occupies less memory, and whereas list occupies a lot of memory. Okay, so remember these most important differences between list and tuple. So this could also be some good questions around, like what's the difference between a list and a tuple. Okay, so that is up with the tuple. Now moving on to our next topic, so which is actually about sets. Okay, so this is also a very good topic, very useful one as well. So sets, see, remember in our schools we all did this set operations, union, intersection, right? All of that, right? So that is what this sets is also about. But in Python you can actually do bunch of more things as well. Okay, so for example, let's say you have a list. Okay, 1 comma 1 comma 2, very simple. Okay, 3 elements, 1 1 2. Now let's say you want to find out unique values in this list. Okay, so unique values in a list. So how do you do it? You can use set of ls1, and this will automatically give you the unique values. Now, isn't this amazing? Very simple, just one line. Set of this list gives you unique values. So that's how you can actually use sets to find out unique values. Otherwise you can create your own sets, like for example s1, you can define it 1 comma 2 comma 3. Okay, so we are using curly braces, right? So curly braces, I'm putting it again here. So for the set we are using curly braces, right? So here we put key value pairs, here it is comma separated, comma separated, comma separated. Okay, so just keep this in mind, right? So don't get confused. List square brackets, dictionary key value separated by commas with flower brackets, tuple using this normal braces with comma separated values, then set curly braces with comma separated values. Okay, I hope this is useful. Now coming back, so set, as I was saying, you can create this set. So let's say we create one more set. Set 2 is equals to 2 comma 3 comma 4. Okay, so we have two sets, set 1 and set 2. Now you can actually do set operations. So what do I mean by that? I'll just put this text. So you can do set operations. So S1 dot, for example, let's try union of S2, right? So this is how you do it. So S1 dot union of S2, right? So this gives you see this actually is true, right? So 2 3 are common elements, and then 1 comma 4, so 1 2 3 4, right? And then you can also do S1 intersection of S2. Now before I run it, I want you to guess the answer. What are the common elements between set 1 and set 2? It is actually 2 comma 3. Isn't this amazing, right? So very simple. You don't have to like write complicated logics, right? So this also you can do difference and of S2. So what is not present in this set, right? So similarly you can do the reverse also. S2 difference S1 gives you the elements which are there in S2 but not in S1. So all these kinds of set operations can be possible using these sets, right? So but most of the times these are used to extract the unique values. That is where the application of sets lies. I hope you enjoyed this module. See you in the next one. Okay, so we are done learning about tuples and what are the things that we can do with tuples and some set operations as well, right? Now I'll tell you some amazing thing here. Let's move to the AI part. Okay, so I've gone to the AI here. Now you have an option to upload, as you see, so you can add some content, and the best part is it supports all kinds of documents and images. So let us try to add our Jupyter notebook, right? So the way you can add is file, download. You can download this IPYNB. Automatically you will be able to download your Python notebook. Okay, so I have already downloaded my Python notebook. I'll just attach this day 16 content, and then can you explain what's happening inside this notebook? Are you ready for the magic? Let's hit enter and see what actually is gonna happen. And now you see it, right? So as you see, even if you have some complicated codes, you can upload it and you can ask it to explain. Isn't this amazing, right? So yes, so that's how you can use Claude AI to upload some documents and do some amazing stuff with that document as well. I hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next module. Alright, our next module is actually about module itself, right? It's a Python module, right? So very tricky, right? So this module, it's called module itself. I'll type in the word here. So it's called Python modules. So see, I think before I talk about Python modules, I'll give an example, right? Let's say you want to read about history. Okay, you want to read about what happened in India around 1600 to 1700, between these 2 years. So what do? You go to library and then you find out where is the history section, and then you pick the right book that you are looking for, isn't it? So this is what we do, right? So when we don't have information about something that we read, I'm saying before the age of internet. Okay, so let's say you don't have mobile phone, something, right? So there's only a library, and then you go to a library and then you go to that section, pick the book, right? Now similarly, Python is like that, right? So in Python there are lots of modules which you can pick up and use as per your own convenience, right? So I'll show you a couple of examples today as well, right? So I'll talk about couple of modules which are, one is math and then other is random. I use them, right? So during my work as well, right? So both of these modules, right? So by default many a times, right? Now as I said, you have to pick the book from the library, isn't it? So even you have to communicate that to your Python. So how do you communicate? So you write a word called import math. So when you do this, that means so Python has collected all the information about this math library. Okay, so it has collected that module, and okay, it will be able to collect all the information inside it. So when we did this, what happens is you can access all the books inside history, something like that. I'll give an example. For example, let's say I want to find out a square root of 100. What do? You can do math dot square root and put 100. Okay, look at this. What did we do? We did a square root, and then we used this math, and then we did a square root, and we've got the answer. So from math we have imported everything that we can do with this math library. Okay, so I'll be using module library together, so don't get confused. It's called library, module, both of them are same. Okay, but library is the most common name, so that's why I'm using library. It's called a Python library, right? So Python library, both of them are same. So Python library or Python module. Okay, so you can do this math dot square root, and you can also do, for example, math dot pi, right? You can access things like pi. So you can see the pi value, or you can also use sine theta, cos theta, sine value, cos value. So you can get those kind of values as well, or you can also do things like power, right? So math dot power of, so let's say 2 power 8. You can just do 2 comma 8. It will automatically give you 2 power 8. 2 power 10, you can also do that, right? Or all the basic math, like for example factorial also you can do, right? So math dot you just put factorial. So 5 factorial, how much is 5 factorial? 120, right? So you can use these kind of things as well, right? So very simple. So what did we do? So we imported math, we imported a lot of functions with math. So that means you will be able to access functions, variables, everything that is present inside that library, right? Now, so David, every time I have to type math, is there an easier way to do it? So you can also do in something like, for example, import math as m. Okay, you type it something like this. Now wherever you use m, it becomes your math. Okay, m dot power, you do 2 comma 2 power 6. Okay, so now your m became your math. You don't have to type math every single time, right? It's like a shortcut, so that you don't have to type every single time. Okay, and similarly there's another module that you can check. It's called random. So it is also very popular, very useful as well. So you can just do import random. So this will be useful now. So again, you can do things like pick a random number, right? So random dot random will give you a random number between 0 to 1. You run it again, it will give you a new number, right? So that's the beauty of this random, right? So you can do that, and for example, you can also do, right? So you can also do random int. So that is done using random dot rand int. So you can put rand int and put, let's say I want to pick a random number between 1 to 1000. Say 1 comma 1000 and enter. It will give you a random number every time between 158. Okay, or you can give a random number between, let's say 1000 to 999, right? So yes, 9999, right? So this actually a very good use case is your OTP. Okay, so every time you get a 4-digit OTP, so what is running behind the scenes? Some random number, you see. So every time you run, you get a 4-digit number. Okay, so this is the use case of random int, right? So random numbers are used very very practically, right? So everywhere. Let's say you can use it to do some tricky things, like for example, so let's say I have a list. Okay, list 1. So I have a list of colors, let's say black, blue and then you have yellow. Okay, so you have three colors. Okay, let's assume you have three colors. Now I want to pick a random color. Okay, you can actually use random function for that. So random dot, just put choice of ls1 and enter. It will automatically give you any random color of. So this list I've put only three colors, right? You can keep adding to this. Let's say I add green to it, right? So or I add gray to it, I add white to it. You can add hundreds, thousands, 10,000s of colors. It will pick you random color every single time. Okay, random dot choice. So this is also very useful, and you can also do, like, let's say list one, I want to shuffle things. Okay, shuffle and do a random shuffle of ls1. Now let us print ls1. Let's see what actually happens in shuffling, right? You see, so these are jumbled. So a very good use case of shuffling is, I'll tell you using this example, right? So you have ls2, and this ls2 has cards. So you just bought a pack of cards, and c1, c2, they are arranged in a proper order. Okay, c4, c5, c6 and c7. So let's say I have a deck of 7 cards. Now you do random dot shuffle of ls2 and now print ls2. You see, these cards are shuffled. Okay, so this is a very good use case of all gaming companies, right? So every time you play a card game, the cards are shuffled and distributed to each player, isn't it? So there also randomness is quite useful. Okay, so yeah, I think I hope this was helpful. You can explore random dot sample as well, so that is also a good use case. Choice with multiple options, right? What if I want to pick 2 numbers out of 10, right? So what if I want to pick 3 numbers, n numbers out of a set, right? You can do those kind of things also, right? So yes, so this is how. So Python has lot more such Python libraries. So there is also, if you want to check more inbuilt libraries, there is OS library, there is JSON library, right? So these are all additional libraries that Python actually uses. You can check request library, which is used to access URLs, right? All of that, right? So yeah, so if possible, I'd add you a resource, right? So what kind of libraries are used for different use cases as well. So that's all for this module. See you in the next one. Okay, so we've completed the basics about Python modules. Now let's move on to the AI part, right? So last time, if you remember, we uploaded a notebook and then try to ask Claude, let's try to explain us what's happening inside that notebook. Now this time, let's take a picture and see if it actually tries to understand. Okay, so let me take a snapshot. So a new snapshot here. I'll click on this new snapshot. Let's capture this random. Okay, so I've captured it. Now copy this, go back to this Claude and paste it. As you see, it has added. Can you help me understand the content inside the image? Okay, so let's see if it actually understands. It does. Isn't this amazing? You can just take a picture and then upload, and then you can actually see some mind-blowing things as well. Crazy, isn't it? So keep trying such different things. I'll hope you'll definitely love it. That's all for this module. See you in the next one. Right, so our next module is about date time, right? So date time is also, so we went through Python modules like math, random. Similarly, we have also this date time, right? So let's discuss about, we'll continue on this Python module, which is, so this time it is on date time. So as the name suggests, it's about date and time. So it gives you both access to date and time. See, we think of these things very casually, right? But for for a Python program, right, so to consider to work with the dates, it's not that straightforward, right? So there's so much formatting involved, there's so many little things involved. So that is what we will try to cover, and we'll also look at how does this date time actually help us, right? What are the applications of this date time, right? Now the way to do it is you can import date time just like how we did the previous ones, but this one, it has more features to offer. So what you do is, instead of just importing date time, so what you can say is from date time import date time. You can also import date. You can also import time separately. You can import time delta, right? So like difference between two timings, all of that calculations. You can import different things. You can import what you actually need. Okay, so you can do it in two ways. So one way is just importing date time. The other way is importing specific class out of this date time, whatever you are looking for, right? Now you can do a bunch of things, like for example, let's say current date time. So I want to find out current date time. What you do is date time dot now. You just do now. You actually get current date time as well. Let's look at this. Okay, so you get the time, right? So date, time, everything, including all the milliseconds, everything. Okay, milliseconds, it matters. We saw the Olympics, right? So the 100-meter race, if you remember, so it matters, right? So you get the time till milliseconds, right? Now you can extract a bunch of things. So let's say you want to extract current date time dot year. So what is the current year? You will get year separately. Then you also do current date time dot date. You get the date separately, right? And if you want month, so this is a returning data type. So if you want month, you can get month, and then you will also get day as well, right? So you will get day also, right? And working with the time class, right? So time is hours, minutes and seconds, right? So we imported this date library, isn't it? Now this date is so working with the dates, you have to be little careful, right? So why you have to be careful is see, generally everyone has their own way of writing dates. So somebody will say 1st Jan. So I'll just zoom it for you. So somebody will say 1st Jan 2024. Okay, and somebody will say 01/01/2024, and somebody will say 2024 01/01. Okay, or someone will say 1st January 2024. You see, everybody has their own way of communicating the dates. Okay, so that's why it's not that straightforward as we think. For example, in Python you can give this date as something like year, month and date. So this is a standard convention: year, month, date. Okay, so for example, same thing, 2024 1 and 1. So if you put enter, so it will give you date, time of date, year, month and date. Okay, so please keep this in mind. It's not like that straightforward what we think. So it has different types of formatting issues. Now you can also work similarly. You can also work with time as well. So time is nothing but hours, minutes, seconds. This is how it works. So time, so let's say you give 14 20 20, something like this. So you see date time of 2 hours 20 minutes 20 seconds. So this is how, so what time is. So this you need to remember: year, month, day is a default convention, and hours, minutes, seconds is the default convention for time components, right? So here, like, you can define your own time. So for example, my time is equals to time of 14 comma 20. Let's make it 30 just to differentiate. Now from your time you can get whatever you are looking for. You can get hour, you can also get my time dot minute, you can do my time dot second. So if you do this, so you will get separately whatever you are looking for, hour, minute, second. So you can access each of them separately as well. Okay, now you can combine both as well. So date, time. So start with your date. So what is your date? So 2024 1st Jan, yeah, and then put your timing 14, 20, 30, right? So this is your entire date time. Okay, so please remember the order, right? Year, month, day, then comes your hours, minutes, seconds. Okay, so just to differentiate, right? So why did I put double H, double M, double S? So just to make it more clearer, that's all. Okay, so YMD, year, month, date, day, sorry, right? So see, let's say you have a flight in 5 hours, okay, starting from now. So you can use this time delta function to calculate when will be the time after 5 hours, let's say. Okay, so you can do it using time delta from date, time, import time delta. So you get time delta access now. So we have to define this time delta. So time delta, you say days or hours. So let's say hours. So I have a flight in 5 hours. Okay, so date, time, second, these many seconds, it says these many seconds. Now current date time plus time delta of 5 hours will give you something like this. So additionally it will add you 5 hours, right? Isn't this amazing, right? So current date time, and you can actually print current date time just to see if this is actually added or not, right? So 24 8 28 exactly same. So 11 it has added it, right? So you can see that, and 28 10 is also exactly the seconds, minutes are same, hours it added 5 hours. Okay, so that is how you can play around with this time delta. You can also play around, so you have other things, right? So these are called short dates, like the one that I mentioned, 1st Jan 2024, these are called short dates. Then you have long dates, right? So just search for it, you will get lots of information around it, right? But these again, right, so depending on your use case, depending on what type of data that you are working with. And then there are time zones as well. You can change time zones, or you can work with the specific time zones as well. Like especially let's say you're working with flights data set, right? So there you will have flights of different time zones, starting from one time zone in one country traveling to another time zone in another country, right? So there you might have to work with time zones as well, right? And then difference between dates, times. Like for example, let's say a user has signed up to Netflix and then he started watching a movie, right? So what is the time difference between logging into Netflix and watching a movie, right? Which all of us find it very difficult, right? So Netflix want to do some analysis, how quickly are people able to find their favorite movie, right? So they can use this time difference between their login and when they started the movie. Okay, so that is how time date time features are very valuable. I hope you enjoyed this module. See you in the next one. Alright, now let's get to the AI part, right? So AI part, I think we've covered all the basics that we needed for Claude AI, uploading a notebook, uploading an image, and then asking some basic questions as well, right? So now I want you to come up with some questions on the date time. For example, let's say you can ask Claude to come up with 10 extraordinary things that you can do using date time, right? So try to come up with your own use cases, take a picture of some code, then upload it, attach some random file, see if it's able to still recognize what's happening inside it. Or you can try some Python books, see what's the limit and try to understand how far this AI models can actually do, right? So I want you to experiment some of these things, so that I believe that is the best way to learn stuff as well. Alright, so that's all for this module. See you in the next one. Alright, so welcome to day 19 now. So we have our notebook ready and we are connected as well. So today is more like a surprise day. I mean, not too many surprises, of course. So it's about solving problems, right? So whatever we've learned, right, it's very important to keep applying them in real life, right, and test our abilities of how good we are able to solve these problems. Now, today, like in this week, we've covered about dictionaries. So today we are going to test our skills of how to use dictionaries in practical life, right? So to solve problems. Now we'll look at couple of problems. So I'll type in the first problem right here. So let's open a text cell and let's push it upwards, and yes, so let's type. So question goes something like this. Okay, I'll keep it in heading 1. So question is, yes, I'm putting Q1 here. Let's say we have a list L1 equals to 1 comma 2 comma 2 comma 3 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5. Okay, so we have a list. Now the question is, now identify the most repetitive element in the list. Okay, so this is our question right in front of us. Okay, now I want you all to pause the video at least for 30 seconds, and I want you to think about how would you solve this type of a problem, right? The hint here is to use dictionaries. Of course, there are multiple ways of solving any problem, but because we've learned about dictionaries, I want you to think of how can you use dictionaries in this case. Okay, pause the video right now and start thinking about the problem. Okay, I hope you paused it, and now we are back. So how can we use dictionaries here, right? Now if you understand the question properly, the solution automatically comes as you think, right? Now what does it say? It has elements 1 comma 2 comma 2 comma 3 2 3 4 5, right? Now identify the most repetitive element in the list. Now let's not even try to code anything, right? So first let us try to solve the problem just by looking at this. Okay, simple. Now how many ones are there? Only one is there. I'll just zoom it for you, right? How many ones are there? Only one. How many twos are there? So I'll put ones. Number of ones is 1. Number of twos, so let's count the number of twos. There's one here, and one here, right? So there are 3 twos. Then threes, let's look at number of threes, 1 and 2. Okay, there are 2 threes. Then fours, how many fours are there? There's only 1 4. And fives, finally, there's only 1 5. So what we see is, without even coding anything, what is the solution? 2 is the solution, because that is the most repetitive element, right? Now we need to exactly do this in terms of coding as well, right? Now let's see how you can use dictionaries and solve this problem in seconds. Okay, now you just have to create a dictionary. So let's say we create a dictionary called number counter, right? So num counter is an empty dictionary. Okay, now actually my auto code is already giving the answer, but let's not accept it. So let us write our own code, right? So for I in the entire list L1, okay, so let's not use that code. So let's try to write our own, right? Now for I in L1, right, what do I have to see? My number counter is empty. Ideally, my final answer should look like, the key should be 1 and number of times 1 is repeated. The key should be 2 and number of 2's are there, and 3, number of trees are there, right? So, and so on for any other values. So how do you come up with that? The simple way is, so in dictionary you can check. Now for example, we have this num counter is empty dictionary, isn't it? Now you can check if 1 in num counter, right? So if 1 in num counter, so let's say print 1 is present, else what do you say? Let us add 1 into this num counter of 1 is equals to 1. So let's run this. Okay, so it didn't print and instead it added to this num counter. Okay, so it added this, you see. So we can actually do a check every time. You can check whether an element is. So let's run this again and see. Now this time it says 1 is already present, so don't try to add anything, right? So this is the logic, right? So the logic that we are using is, if that element is in this dictionary, you do a check. If it's not, you add it, right? And that is the concept that I'll be using here. So you see, for I in L1, right? So that means all the elements in L1. Now what is L1? We have not defined L1, so let's define L1. So L1 is equals to R1, 2, 3 and so on. Three, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Right? So we have our L1. So if I in your num counter, if it's already there, you just add one more, right? I'm typing the exact one as well, right? So plus or equals to 1. So if it's not there, you have to assign a single value for this num counter, right? Now let us run this code. Okay, we can delete our below code. I was just using it to explain. Now let's get back and now let's look at our num counter, right? Now as you see, we have ones is only 1, twos only 3 twos. Yeah, we've got it perfect. Threes, number of threes are 2 and fours is 1 and fives we have only 1 5, right? Now are we already done with the problem? No, right? So we only solved it to 90% we are there, right? But we still have to identify which is the highest, right? Now how do we identify the highest? Very simple. You go through every single key value pair, right? Now whichever value, so what is key? Key is the first element, right? Which is on the left hand side of this column is the key, right hand side of the column is the value, right? Now every time you have to look at this value and see whichever is the highest value. Okay, so that's all you have to do. Let's see, for key comma value in num counter dot items. Remember, how many of you remember this one, right? So we used items, right? Now what we can do is, let's say we declare a minimum value of 0. Okay, so we declare a minimum value of 0. Now if any value is greater than this 0, okay, so if any value is greater than this temp, what do we do? So temp is equals to this value, and then temp is equals to this value. My final result, right? So the result that we are looking for is the key every time. Like so okay, let me explain, right? So what am I doing? So for key comma value, meaning key is 1, value is also 1, key is 2, value is also 3, right? So every time you iterate between key comma value in whole dictionary. Now for first one, so it checks what is v, 1, temp is 0. Okay, so 1 is greater than 0, so it goes into it. So now temp is updated to 1, right? And my final result is updated to 1. then it gets to this 2 comma 3, right? So then it identifies, okay, so 3, right? So 3 is greater than, the previous temp was 1, so it keeps on updating. So for more clarity, what I can do is every time I can print this, print what is k value. So I can use my f strings. So print k value, you can print v value, and you can also print temp value as well. So for yourself, how these are all changing, and final result, we haven't given any final result, so we have to declare that variable. So let's keep it none, and now run this. You see, so all the iterations, so it went through 1 2 3 4 5, yes, keys, values, and the temp, how it got updated each and every single time. Now final result is final result is 2. So as you see, so we went through it, right? So this is how you can solve problems, right? So yes, I hope you liked it, right? So I'll give you second problem as a part of this weekly project, right? So that should be quite fun. So I'll see you in the next module. Okay, so now let's move to the AI part. So today's AI part should be very simple because we already have a question right in front of us. So let's copy the same question and see how you can use ChatGPT to make yourself better, right? So you can say, I have the following question, can you solve it using Python dictionaries and explain me like you explain to a Python beginner. Okay, and then you paste your question, enter, right? You have the solution right in front of you. So this is, I would say, everybody would say about it, but see, ChatGPT is not just about, solving that problem, right? It's also, it has more capabilities, right? Okay, so it gave you the answer, you can see, right? Now what you can do is the same question, can you solve it without using dictionaries, right? So let's explore ChatGPT fits identifier, right? Now can you solve the same problem without using dict? Okay, now let's see if it's really powerful. And okay, so it is saying most repetitive, max count, loop through each list. Okay, so what it is doing is it is directly using list.count function, right? And yes, so you can keep asking it more questions and more ways of solving the same problem, right? So I would ask like 10 different ways, right? So I would be amazed each and every single time. Alright, that's all for this AI topic. Let's move on to the next one.
So share it with the rest of the people. Comment section. Please like the video and subscribe it. Thank you very much.